Everything we usually do when we want to change something, a new habit, a better boundary, a different way of working, happens above the waterline. It's the part you can see, and that's why it doesn't stick, because all the real stuff is happening underneath. I'm Anna Lundberg. I've spent over a decade working with founders and leaders at the moment when what got them here stops working, when the habits and instincts that made them successful start creating friction instead. And what I keep finding is that the problem is almost never where people think it is. If you haven't watched the previous video in this series, that's a good place to start, and I will link it below. For those of you who have, here's a quick recap, and then we can get into what you actually do about it. Now, the model has 3 layers. At the surface, behaviour, what you do, what's visible to your team, your clients, yourself, the decisions, the habits, the patterns. This is where almost all development work happens, and it matters, but it is just the surface. Underneath that is the scripts, the operating logic running in the background, the rules you're following without realising you're following them. I have to be across every decision. I should always be available. If I slow down, something will slip. They feel like your own voice, but they're usually not. Underneath that, identity. At some point, the script stops being a thought and becomes a lens. You don't decide to take on the extra project, you just take it on. The identity already decided. That's why change at the surface doesn't last. The layers underneath keep pulling the old pattern back. So, what do you actually do about it? Well, the first thing is to recognise that there's a behaviour you want to change, and to be clear-eyed that what you've been trying so far hasn't shifted it. That's where it starts. Then you want to dig underneath. What's the script running it? Where did it come from? And this is the key question, does it still serve you? Because most of these scripts weren't wrong when they formed, they worked. The question is whether they still fit the life or the business that you're in now. If they don't, you can rewrite. Choose something different. Something specific enough that you'd actually know what it looks like in practice. And then you rebuild. You put the habits and structures in place so that the new script can actually run, rather than the old one sliding quietly back in. Now let's go into each of those. The first step is to name the behaviour you want to change, and it needs to be specific, not just a vague feeling, but an actual pattern. Not, I want to work less. What specifically? Working late every evening, even when there's nothing urgent. Sitting down to your laptop after the kids are in bed every night without quite knowing why. Taking on another project every time someone asks, even when you're already full. The should voice is useful here. Listen for it. I should be further along. I should push harder on this. I should be doing more. The should is usually a script talking, not you. 2 examples I come across constantly. One is the founder who can't stop being across every decision. They've hired good people, but the decisions still land with them. They're the bottleneck and they know it. They've read the books, they've done the training, and they're still checking everything before it goes out. 2 is the leader who works past 10 p.m. most evenings and calls it just this season, except it's been several seasons, and they promise themselves things would be different by now. This step is just observation, not judgment. What is the pattern that keeps showing up? Once you've named the behaviour, you go underneath. What's the script driving it? And I want to be clear about what this isn't. It's not about blaming yourself. It's not about digging around in the past to find something to feel bad about. You're just noticing, with some distance, the beliefs that have been quietly running the show. Now, 3 questions that help. Why do I feel I need to do this? What would happen if I didn't? What would it mean about me if I stopped? And that last question is usually where things get interesting. If I stop checking everything before it goes out, something will go wrong and I'll be the one left to fix it. I'm not the person who lets things go. Now that's the script starting to harden into identity. I'm not that kind of person, or more likely, I am the kind of person who stays on top of things. I'm thorough. I'm the one who catches what others miss. That's not just a belief anymore, that's who you are. For the founder who can't delegate, the script underneath is usually, if I'm not across it, it won't be right. And here's what I want you to hear. That script wasn't wrong. When they were building from scratch, being across everything was exactly what the situation asked for, and it worked. It produced results. The brain files that as, this is how I get results, not this was useful in that particular season. These scripts have often been enormously helpful. They've protected us. They've driven us forwards. Past you didn't get something wrong. Past you ran the script that the moment called for. The question now is simply whether that moment has passed. So the review question isn't, why am I like this? It's, did this script serve me once and does it still? Here's where most people go wrong with this step. They replace one vague belief with another. I deserve rest. That's fine, but only if you really believe it, only if it's anchored in something real. Maybe for you it's, I need to rest to be able to do my best work. Or maybe I deserve rest is exactly what lands. There's no right answer here. You need to find the wording that actually resonates with you and what you're trying to change. At its simplest, you can take the old script and flip it. Success requires sacrifice becomes success does not require sacrifice. Or if you want more texture, success that costs me my health and my family isn't success. You should be able to say it when the old script shows up and feel it land. So for the founder, if I'm not across it, it won't be right, might become, I can't be across everything, I need to trust my team. That's something you can actually say to yourself in the room, in the moment, when the instinct to check everything kicks in. This is where the rewrite becomes real, or it doesn't. Because if you've written a new script and nothing else changes, you'll revert. The old pattern is well worn. You'll slide back into it before you've noticed. So the rebuild is about the habits and structures that give the new script somewhere to actually run. For the founder, maybe the meeting structure changes. Instead of reviewing everything before it goes out, there's a weekly check-in where they hear what the team decided and why. That removes the moment where the old pattern kicks in, and over time, they start to have real evidence that things don't fall apart when they step back. For the leader, the laptop goes in a bag at 7 p.m, not as a goal, but as a physical structure that removes the option. Maybe they join a group of peers doing the same thing or work with someone who holds them to it. And here is the important thing. You might have tried some of these before, the earlier finish, the protected evening, and they might not have stuck. The reason they're more likely to stick now is that they're anchored in something. You understand what's been running underneath. You've made a conscious choice about what replaces it. The habit isn't just a rule you're following, it's the expression of a belief you've actually examined and decided to hold. The model is simple, the work isn't. But it's the right work because it's at the level where the patterns actually live. Recognise the behaviour that keeps showing up. Review the script underneath, where it came from, whether it still fits. Rewrite it directly, specifically, in words that actually land for you, and rebuild the habits and structures so it has a real chance of sticking. Over the coming weeks, I'm going to be taking the specific scripts that come up again and again in my work with founders and leaders, and walking through what this actually looks like for each one. Subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next week.